She's one of the most outspoken voices in the United Nations against Israeli war crimes and one of the few officials willing to name the aggressor without fear. Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and the occupied Palestinian territories, has faced relentless political pressure, targeted media campaigns, and now unprecedented US sanctions, all for defending the principles of international law. Today we speak to the woman Washington wants to silence, to ask why she refuses to step back and how she intends to keep the truth alive in a world where power often crushes justice. Francesca, you've been leading the UN's investigation into human rights in the occupied Palestinian territories. In just over 2 years, what are the most alarming facts you have uncovered that the world still refuses to act upon?
Well, I believe that the most important part of my work has been in exposing the overarching structure that underpins the panoply of Israeli crimes, or crimes committed and supported by other states and other actors, by focusing on the right of self-determination and saying, well, the political future is not up for negotiation. Palestinians have a right to self-determination, and discussion on two states on state is not really what matters now. This was the first bombshell that I threw through this mandate. Then I've been investigating several structural issues. The most probably the most heavy one to process for the international community in the beginning was the allegation of genocide that leveled against Israel. When I said in March 2024, I believe that there are reasonable grounds to say that Israel is committing at least 3 acts of genocide, acts of killing, acts calculated to destroy the people in Gaza and inflicting severe bodily and mental harm. That anatomy of genocide has then translated into something more complex and articulated that I exposed, saying Israel is committing genocide as part of a colonial erasure. So there has been this increasing unveiling through a legal lens of Israel's ethnic cleansing plan. It has always been there. It's not me speaking of it for the first time. Israeli historians, Palestinians and Israeli human rights organizations, international human rights organizations had already exposed the apartheid regime that Israel has imposed on the Palestinians. And still, what has hurt the most is my last report, which is what triggered sanctions, unprecedented sanctions from the United States toward my mandate, because that report exposes the economy of occupation that Israel has maintained over the Palestinian territory, which has transformed into an economy of genocide.
In regarding to that, which corporations and governments do you believe are most complicit in enabling the genocide in Gaza? And could you name them? And have you personally faced threats or pressure from any of these actors because of your reporting?
Well, I assess support in connection with the genocide, the war crimes and crimes against humanity that Israel is committing. And therefore, the first form of support is the military and strategic. So the United States, Germany, the UK, but even Italy and Serbia are providing weapons, or India. I mean, there are a variety of countries that entertain military arms transfers with Israel. Then there is the political support. The political support that is much broader, and it comes from a large part of the West. And there are Western countries that, on the one hand, might criticize excesses here and there practically they do nothing in their power, nothing to honor their obligations under international law, which is very, very clear. Member states must prevent genocide, and they failed, must stop genocide, and they're failing, must contribute to end the permanent occupation, the colonization. Israel must dismantle the colonies, must withdraw the troops, must stop exploiting Palestinian resources. Instead, these states continue to, you asked me if I received pressure. Well, the sanctions are pressure. The United States has been really forceful toward me. And so Israel has unleashed armies of minions attacking me within the United Nations, outside the United Nations, have been the object of relentless defamation campaigns, accusing me of things I've never done, I've never thought, accusing me of anti-Semitism, of inciting violence, whatever. But this is... And then there have been states like France, Germany, Canada, who have played along by amplifying, or even the Netherlands, amplifying the allegations or the accusations against me instead of supporting my mandate. Because eventually the Human Rights Council confirmed my mandate and no one opposed, including the Netherlands. Eventually, within the Human Rights Council, no one has opposed my mandate because they know that I'm doing what everyone should be doing. What is also to be noted, and with preoccupation, is the fact that member states are allowing a variety of actors, multinationals and national companies to profit from what Israel has been doing. And this is unacceptable. Think of a country like Norway. Norway is known as a very pro-Palestine country, and surely politically it might be. And then it has a pension fund, so almost 10% is invested in the occupied Palestinian territory. Where is the coherence? And so now the Norwegian people are have been engaged in a discussion for a long time, and now it's time for the government to face this and the total incoherence and possible the responsibilities and liabilities associated to this investment. They've been put on notice. I went there, I met with their various pension funds, institutions, governing bodies, Council of Ethics. They pretended not to want to see. Now they will have to face the consequences.
You mentioned political pressure, you mentioned US sanctions. What's the aim of this pressure? Intimidate you? Cripple your mandate?
I think so. I think the end game is to silence me, to deter me from continuing this mandate, which I don't think is going to happen. Look, it's the fracture that I live with after having been a witness to this genocide is unbearable. I think that all of us who have been exposed to this will need to undergo therapy and healing. But right now, what matters is that the suffering of the Palestinians who are being genocided, who are being ethnically cleansed, and we cannot spare any effort in stopping it. I come from a country which took part in colonial crimes, in the Holocaust of the Jewish people. It's built inside me, the intolerance for this. We must act as Europeans. And also I think that there is, whomever comes from this part of Italy, from a land that has been plagued by organized criminality, which is really, here it boils down to the collusion between the political sphere and the economic financial sphere, which in order to defend itself and to protect its crimes from accountability, has killed journalists, judges, and ordinary citizens and law enforcement agents. And again, this is also part of my DNA. No, we react to these mafia-style techniques. And the US is trying to isolate me, and look at the response. I mean, you saw it yesterday, and it's people, institutions are coming out, and they want to stand in solidarity, not with me, with the Palestinian people. And I hope that the Palestinians will feel it. We will stop this genocide. That the matter is when.
You mentioned that people reacting to the current, also internal political situation in their own countries. You just published a book. You published a lot widely on the legal situation in the occupied Palestinian territories, but your latest book, Quando il mondo dorme, When the World Sleeps, which has just been published, provides a profound and urgent reflection on life under occupation, told through the voices of those living it. What has led you to writing of this new book?
Love. It's love. Really, the book is more than anything else I've ever written. It's an act of love for the truth, for the Palestinian people, for the Israeli people who see what they've been part of and want a decolonized state, for all the others who have the right to know, because especially the young people. I've written this book with an audience in mind, which is my youngest, in a way, fellow citizens in Italy, those who might not have benefited from honorable politicians, like when I grew up. And this is not a matter of political parties, but as I grew up, there was a general consensus from right to left that the Palestinian people had the right to self-determination and had to be protected. I mean, there was no question that the right to resist oppression was a right recognized in international law. Well, now the discussion is so poor, so vilified, that the moment you talk about Palestinians' rights, you get into the realm, you step into the realm of terrorism and supporting terrorism. The banality of this is impoverishing the possibility to nurture the younger generation. They must know. They need to know, they must know, because from knowledge comes conscientization and then action.
Thousands of people attend your book launches across the country. Is Gaza a tool to awaken?
I think Palestine has been a tool of awakening. I have this clear sense of the revolutionary phase we are living because of the acceleration of developments. 2 years ago, it was impossible to talk about Palestine and have these numbers of people. Although my work has been followed attentively in many circles, including in this country, and despite the fact that there was a total neglect by the government officials. Today, it's impossible not to think of Israel as an apartheid state, to Israel as an ethnocracy, to Israel. People understand instinctively that the only democracy of the Middle East is just a fake label that won't stick anywhere else other than to the lies of some failed politician including in this country. They belong to the past. Now they are irrelevant. I have the feeling that we have entered a new phase also because never before I've heard so many people talking about colonialism, decolonization. People talk the language of human rights. So if I had to forget for a moment the horrible, horrible present of the Palestinian people, and including many who stand in solidarity with them in Germany, in France. There are people, young people facing counts of terrorism, people who have been beaten. I mean, I've met in circumstances like yesterday, students in Amsterdam or in other places, they'd been beaten up by the police like half an hour before, and I was shocked and was saying, this happens all the time, but we keep on showing up. So you see, there is violence against the Palestinians and anyone who stands in solidarity with them, and at the same time, people understand that the language is human rights. So for me, if I had to forget all this horror, fantastic. People are preaching, are walking the human rights language. This is a huge paradigm shift. So the potential of using this moment to make ourselves as a society better is incredible. We need to use it. And in order to use it, we need to understand what we are living. This is why I invest so much in making sure that people get it.
Talking about people's understanding of today's geopolitics, the perception of geopolitics. When the U.S. sanctioned you, a photo montage of you with Jolani went viral. Many pointed out that the U.S. removed Jolani from its terrorist list and lifted sanctions on him, yet sanctioning you instead. What's your take on that?
Look, the imposition of sanction on any UN person, a UN official, or a UN expert like myself is extremely serious. This is yet another level of affront to the multilateral system, the UN system, the international legal order. Because before me, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court and other judges have been sanctioned, which is, I mean, this should have raised the alarm. Now, the fact that a UN official is sanctioned triggers a responsibility of the United States for violating the UN Charter, Article 100, for violating the UN Convention on Privileges and Immunities. So the point is, who's going to advocate for me? And should be the United Nations, should be the Secretary General. We'll see, because in other cases it has happened. I mean, for a different issue once, there was a case of Malaysia threatening a special rapporteur for something concerning national matters. And the then Secretary General Kofi Annan immediately intervened and took the case to the General Assembly. And so the president is scary. If this is not addressed, it will happen to others. I'm 100% sure.
You have warned of possible genocide in Gaza. Is international law itself failing, or is it the political will of powerful states that's blocking enforcement?
Yeah, people blame international law. I don't know what they think international law is, but it's a tool. It's a tool. It's a set of norms and mechanisms that are not working because of lack of political will, but it's not even entirely true, because today there is a very strong move and attempt from countries other than Western countries, frankly, Chile, Brazil, Colombia, South Africa, Namibia. These are important states, and they have to be recognized as such, as those who are trying to, Malaysia, Indonesia, those who are trying to save the multilateral system. None of the states is immune from criticism when it comes to their performance in respecting human rights. But frankly, look at our countries, look at Western countries, what they're doing. No one can claim a higher moral ground when it comes to respect for human rights. So fine, we are on the same level. And those countries are protecting and defending the international multilateral order and using international law. So this is what I want to say. International law shouldn't be seen as a magic wand. International law is a set of tools that can be used as a shield or as a sword. And we are in the era where the standards are clear, the enforcement mechanisms are there, and somewhat they are failing. We've entered the era of justiciability. And so this is why it's so important to go to court, to take people alleged to be responsible of crimes to the International Criminal Court or using universal jurisdiction at the domestic level against the country's nationals who have double nationality. They have Israeli nationality and they've been fighting in the Israeli army, or Israeli soldiers who travel the world to regain peace of mind. I'm sorry, they need to face accountability, not acrimony, not the hostility of the citizens. They need to face justice. And so it's also important that businesses who have profited from the crimes that Israel has committed, violating that promise to their clients of effective due diligence, they need to pay, being them the Norwegian Pension Fund or Leonardo SPA or Airbnb and Booking.com or Volvo and Hyundai. So and of course the politicians.
Let's talk about the credibility of the UN system. When a UN expert like yourself is sanctioned by a superpower, what happened to the credibility of the United Nations system?
It depends from the response of the United Nations system. Look, I've seen a very strong response from the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the President of the Human Rights Council, many members of the Human Rights Council itself. So and the response from Jewish groups, Palestinian groups, academics, journalists has been really huge. There has been an avalanche of solidarity. What is to be done now is to make sure that I am delisted and the sanctions are lifted. They made a mistake. Mistakes are human. It's persevering in the mistakes that is really evil.
You partially answered this question, but what exact steps must be taken now politically, economically, and legally to hold Israel accountable for war crimes?
Israel must be sanctioned. Like any state who commits crimes, Israel has gone far beyond any other states that have committed crimes in recent decades. Considering how Israel is seen and considering the democratic country, yes, it's democratic for a few people, not for all, and it poses a military dictatorship of 5 million people, Palestinians. It's also the means that have been used. 21st century modern technology and weaponry and spying services and artificial intelligence. This is extremely scary and can be replicated. I keep on thinking that somewhat in Gaza, large people containment techniques and surveillance techniques have been tested, like in the past. And I'm not the only one to allege so. So Israel must be sanctioned. Israel must, and Israeli officials and others who have contributed to support and to create the conditions to commit those crimes have to be held accountable, have to face justice. So, and the sanctions must be first and foremost economic. And we don't see anything moving at the state level. Well, it's not correct because Slovenia has announced the sanctions. States from the global majority, otherwise known as Global South, have announced curtailing of essential or raw material supplies like coal from South Africa and Colombia. This is very important. And so this is to be the case until Israel ends the genocide, permanent occupation and apartheid against the Palestinians. This is the struggle. And then there should be also, as I said, measures taken against individuals. Now, because member states are not acting as fast as they should, look at the European Union. The European Union, and I mean, it was a disgrace to enter the association agreement with Israel decades ago because Israel was already committing war crimes when it happened. But now, maintaining this agreement brings in, as I keep on saying, the responsibility of those who have facilitated this process. And the leaders of the European Union will have to face justice at some point. If we stopped here, we would think that nothing can be done, and it's not true. And this is where I think that we need to shift the focus from the power of the institution to the power of the people. Because this is what the Palestinian movement, like the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, was saying. While states delay the compliance with their obligations, individual citizens of the world have the power. And this is why it's about the time to say made in Israel today is not acceptable. There should be ethical purchase, ethical sale, ethical procurement at institutional level, local level. I say all the municipalities who have come forward offering me honorary citizenship, I say, I take it, I accept it, but do you accept to change, to embrace this paradigm shift that is needed, is demanded by your people, is needed by justice? And so do you embrace this need to hold everyone accountable in your area and also to ban products that are connected to the economy of the occupation and the economy of genocide? And this is happening. This is happening.
We're close to the end of this interview. If the people of Gaza could speak to the international community in one sentence, what would they say right now? And looking ahead, what do you predict for human rights in Gaza and the West Bank over the next 12 months if the siege continues?
I don't know what the Palestinians would say. I hear their voices and I hear even their silence, and they want to live. They want to live in peace and dignity. This is what I've been hearing from the Palestinians over and over, and they're really beautiful, beautiful, generous people. It's the fact that they are so vilified, blamed and smeared in the public discourse in such a large portion of the West speak to our misery and to our ignorance. This is what we have done to colonize people over and over. It's unacceptable that we keep on doing that in 2025. But what will happen? I don't know what will happen, but sometimes I think I'm a visionary because I do see the end of it. I do see a beautiful place made of the Eyal Weizmann and Elon Confino I speak of in the book. Elon is no longer with us, but there are many other Elon in Israel, people who want peace, who want the end of the occupation, the apartheid and the genocide, people who recognize that their ancestors, they might be Holocaust survivors, and there might also be criminals who have kicked out the Palestinians from their land and have taken their homes. There is this historical dialectic that is to be embraced. And there are the Ghassan Abu Sitta and Malak Matar. These are the people, or my friend George, that I speak of in the book. I do see a future, a place that people will call Palestine or Israel. It doesn't matter. Look at New Zealand, Aotearoa. It's not the name, it's the fact that that land must be a place of equal rights and freedoms for anyone. Then it will be up to them to decide how to live. But it will be tough because of the ethno-state that Israel has transformed into. Look at the violent settlers. I mean, they go around and they kill innocent people, they torch orchards, they destroy homes. And it's not just, again, this is why I tell, especially people in Italy who say, oh, Netanyahu's government. It's not Netanyahu's government. I mean, the judges have just released someone who killed an activist who was renowned and beloved. And so the Palestinians are the victims here. And Israel as a state has committed crimes, and Israeli society is to undergo a thorough introspection and healing themselves. So there is a lot that needs to be done. I don't think that we Western countries are necessarily equipped to help in this process of healing, because we have this solution anxiety. We need to come out with the solution, and it is to be logic and rational, whatever it is. We don't understand the context. Let other people come in. Again, there is this concept of Ubuntu in among many African people. I am because you are. And this is something that we have so fiercely judged during the transition from apartheid in South Africa or in the post-genocide Rwanda. Excuse me, the world is made of so many beautiful people, culture, and approaches. Let it be. And Gaza, I do imagine that Gaza will go back to life, but part of it will have to be probably a memorial to genocides, because this has been one of the most horrific genocides of human history, televised through all possible means and violations of the international law that was written to prevent another genocide and all crimes. I mean, this will be a mausoleum, a monument to the failure of humanity, and we will get there. The Palestinians will do it, and we will be there with them.
You're under constant political attack. What keeps you going? Has there been a moment when you felt close to stepping away, and what brought you back eventually?
Look, when I got this mandate, I was just someone who knew a lot about Palestine, who knew about international law, and then I didn't expect to be. Maybe I was naive, but I didn't expect to see the impact of the political hypocrisy our world is made of. And these past 3 years have transformed me into. I mean, sometimes I laugh about it. I'm much more resistant, much more resilient than I've ever been. Somewhat I feel this Palestinian value, they call it sumud, inside me. And it's incredible, but this is what humanity is. I feel them inside myself. I feel Palestinian children, Israeli children inside my children. And this incredible connection is what keeps me going. We have the opportunity to make history better. Palestinians and Israelis who struggle with them against apartheid are writing history. There will not be a footnote in a narrative written by the bankerers. They will not. And I'm just proud to be part of it. But I often say, I'm not mine. In this moment, I quote the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish when he says, I'm not mine. So whomever I am as an individual doesn't matter. I'm a function here. And I feel it very strongly. Maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm an idealist, but as you ask me what keeps me going, here's the answer.
Last question. It's about the present. Israel Prime Minister and war crime Benjamin Netanyahu has plans to fully occupy the Gaza Strip, expanding its operations across the entire Strip. What is Netanyahu's end game in the occupied Palestinian territories?
Look, the end game to me of many, not just Netanyahu, seems to be the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. This is what I've been claiming since October 2023. This is the last stage. It's been a plan for a long time, and it's been accelerated since October 2023. This man is wanted by the ICC for war crimes and crimes against humanity. It doesn't matter what he wants. He must be stopped. He belongs to The Hague. And I really implore the Israelis. I implore the Israelis to be the ones to arrest him and to send him to the Hague, because this is where this man belongs, and many others from his government, I'm afraid.
Francesca Albanese, thank you very much for your kind availability for the interview.
Thank you.